Good evening and welcome to the WBZ Gubernatorial debate. I'm Jon Keller, political analyst for WBZ, also welcoming our listeners on WBZ News Radio 1030 and our viewers on CBSBoston.com and C-SPAN. And welcome also to the candidates for governor, the 5 people who gathered 10,000 certified signatures to qualify for the November 4th ballot and earned a place in tonight's debate. They are the Republican nominee, Charlie Baker, a former state government official. The Democratic nominee, Martha Coakley, Attorney General of the Commonwealth since 2007. United Independent Party nominee, Evan Falchuk, a healthcare executive. Independent Scott Lively, a missionary pastor. And Independent Jeff McCormick, a venture capitalist. Candidates, welcome to you all. All right, thanks. Let's begin our debate. The last, and you'll go first in the sequence, Mr. Baker. We'll go in alphabetical order and rotate who goes first. The last couple of years of Governor Deval Patrick's administration have been plagued by a range of managerial failures costing lives and millions of dollars, including oversight of compounding pharmacies, the Health Connector website, the rollout of medicinal marijuana dispensaries, and tragic errors at the Department of Children and Families. Here's my question. What went wrong with executive branch management, and how will you avoid similar embarrassments on your watch?
Litigating it today.
Go ahead, Mr. Lively. I will let you respond, General.
But is an unmitigated disaster. It is the poster child for out-of-control government. It completely tramples parental rights. The Justina Pelletier case created a national outrage, and that girl would still be in DCF control if it hadn't been for the pressure that was brought by millions of people across the country. DCF should be shut down, frankly.
Go ahead, brief rebuttals, then I'm going to move on.
I want to get in on this also. I don't know how any of you can be talking about caring for children when every single one of you supports the killing of unborn babies in the womb.
Okay.
And that you talk about born babies and how much you care for them. And yet they're being slaughtered by the thousands in Massachusetts, and you all support it.
All right, thank you. I'm going to move on now. In the most recent WBZ UMass Amherst poll, a majority of respondents cited the economy and taxes as the issues most important to them. So let's turn to those topics now. When you're governor, will taxes go up, go down, or stay the same? Mr. Lively, 45 seconds.
If I am elected governor, taxes will go down substantially. Frankly, I would like to give back every dollar that I'm able to save by streamlining and downsizing government. But I can't do it as fast as I'd like to because we have $129 billion of debt. And we have the responsibility to pay that down at the same time. So I say for every dollar that we save, by streamlining, downsizing departments, getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse, that we take half the money toward the debt, half back to taxpayers.
Go ahead.
The problem with this system is systemic. What you folks are talking about is picking at things around the edges. The system itself is corrupt. We're talking about the most extensive nanny state, perhaps in the entire world, maybe with the exception of England. But Massachusetts is just outrageous. We are spending money that we don't have, and the prices just keep going up and up and up, and they just keep asking for more and more taxes. We need to reverse that trend.
What was the most difficult decision you ever had to make in your professional life, and why did you decide the way you did? Mr. Lively.
That's a tough question. I've made a lot of career choices that were difficult to make. The one, I suppose, that was more challenging in recent years, I closed down a successful law firm in Southern California. I was the managing partner of Lively, Ackerman and Cowles. In order to go back on the mission field, I gave up substantial salary, and really was a very good, lucrative business. My wife and I now run an inner-city mission in Springfield, Massachusetts. We bought an abandoned house in the middle of the hood. We set up our church is called Holy Grounds Coffee House. It serves the most disadvantaged people in our society, but it was worth it.
Let's move ahead here, and you'll start here, Mr. Lively. Let's turn back to an issue now that made the top 5 issues on voters' minds according to the WBZ UMass Amherst poll, Homeland Security. The U.S. Supreme Court yesterday declined to hear the appeal of Tarek Mahana of Sudbury of his conviction on terrorism charges. Meanwhile, Mahana associate Ahmed Abu Samra of Stoughton is on the FBI's most wanted terrorist list, and he's believed to be a key ISIS operative. These are only the most recent names on a growing list of terror suspects and perpetrators from Massachusetts. And Boston is one of just 3 U.S. cities where the feds are focusing efforts to deter recruitment of terrorists. So here's my question. Is Massachusetts in some way a magnet for terrorists? If so, why? And what would you do as governor to help proactively identify them before they act out?
Well, I think, yes, Massachusetts is a target because it's a liberal state. If you look around the world, the place where radical Islamists are going are the most liberal countries. The Netherlands, England, Sweden, and in the United States, they're going to the states that have the highest Democrat populations and greatest amount of power. It's because they know that they can get away with more in a society where there's just not a lot of scrutiny, where people don't have guns to defend themselves. The places they're going are places where they have the strongest gun laws. They're going to the places where the government is concentrated at the highest, and so there's no local focus. One thing here that I would add to my original comments, and that is the problem that we have with immigration. That we need to close the borders from illegal immigrants, and we need to stop bringing so many radical Islamists into our country through the legitimate immigration policy. That if you look and you see where the radicals are going, they're also going to the places that have the most liberal policies regarding immigration.
Okay. Yeah,
we're upside down on that.
You made that point. Briefly, if you have any more on this, then I want to move on.
There wouldn't be things having to be hidden from us if we just hadn't brought so many troublemakers into our country.
Go ahead.
All I know is that what we face and the challenges we face ahead are not going to be solved by inciting fear and prejudice in people in Massachusetts
and in this country. I'm not inciting fear and prejudice. I'm saying we need to be responsible with our immigration policy and just not let people slip across that border.
All right, I'm going to move on. Thank you, candidates. You can, as I say, revisit this later on as we go along here. We spoke about health care briefly, but I want to return to that topic in a little different perspective here. And you'll start here, Mr. Lively. If Republicans win back the White House in 2016, it's entirely possible they may try to repeal at least parts of the new federal health care law. Are there any, if you're elected, you'll be in office as governor at that time. Are there any aspects of that law you would encourage Washington to change, or are you satisfied with it as is? 45 seconds, please.
I think socialized medicine is an absolute disaster for our country. I would completely repeal Obamacare and rebuild from the ground up. In fact, all the things I'm talking about, when I talked about tearing down DCF, I'm not talking about eliminating we have to have agencies that deal with these sorts of things, but let's do it on conservative principles and not keep following these far-left ideas that take us off into la-la land.
Super briefly, Mr. Lively.
I think the insurance corporate model versus the government socialist model is a false choice. There's a middle path of nonprofit risk pools that are much less costly, where people are not restricted in the doctors and hospitals that they can go to, and where the members are stakeholders in the billing process, which has a substantial downward pressure on cost.
Go ahead. I do want to move on.
This is another serious problem that the left has gotten us into. We shouldn't have to have waivers. Just the fact that we have to have waivers demonstrates that it's a broken system.
Okay, folks, again, you can bring this up again in our next open period, but let's move on to another question here. We're doing great. At least I think so.
As long as no one ends up in the cocoon of horror.
No, you don't want to go there. Thank you, sir. This next question comes from Barbara from the North Shore via cbsboston.com. Thank you, Barbara. In Massachusetts, voters themselves, as you know, can make laws using the initiative petition process. But the voters' decisions have not always been carried out by the legislature, most notably in the failure to roll back the income tax to 5%, as the voters ordered in 2003. If voters next month repeal the automatic gas tax indexing and the casino law, will you honor their will? And if not, do you favor the repeal of the initiative petition process? Thank you, Mr. Lively.
Well, Barbara, I'm with you. And I support the initiative process. In fact, I think Massachusetts should do more to respect citizen legislation. I lived in Oregon for 15 years. The citizens in Oregon can legislate directly. Here in Massachusetts, the legislators can veto the people like they did on the gay marriage vote. The citizens collected well over 100,000 signatures to put that on the ballot, and then the left put the screws to the legislators and prevented that from going to the ballot. They shouldn't be able to do that.
Well, I just want to respond to Evan, and I know Charlie agrees with me on this because we've talked about it before. I am very proud to have been the first Attorney General in the country to challenge the Defense of Marriage Act to make sure that, as in Massachusetts, as we've now seen with the denial of cert at the Supreme Court, people can marry who they love. So I stand on that decision. I'm very proud of it.
I never suggested otherwise.
No, you didn't. Okay. I'm sorry, Scott.
Oh, okay.
All right, well, go ahead, Mr. Baker.
I didn't.
Well, since she referred to me, I want to address that, because this is an important
you know what,
issue
though,
for people in
we're
Massachusetts.
talking about a different issue. I'd like to conclude that discussion first. Go ahead, Mr. Baker. You want it in.
Yeah, my whole point in supporting one casino was a concern about what the collateral impact of more than one casino would be. I'm the only candidate, I believe, who's walked the site in Springfield. The site in Springfield they're planning to build that casino on is the site that was torn up by the tornado. And it's a very innovative proposal that's going to create main streets in a place where we don't have any, in a part of the Commonwealth where the unemployment rate is twice what it is everywhere else.
I live in Springfield. A lot of people that don't want that casino there. That's the last thing we want to do, is to enrich and empower people that are willing to exploit the weaknesses of others for their own personal gain. That's what casinos do, and I don't want any part of them.
Go ahead, Mr. Falchuk, then you, Ms. Coakley. And candidates, on that note, believe it or not, that concludes our debate. Thank you all very much for participating, and thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to watch all or part of this debate again, go to cbsboston.com, and we invite you to follow WBZ News and WBZ News Radio 1030 for thorough coverage and analysis of campaign 2014. Most importantly, get out and vote on November 4th. Thanks so much for watching.